All right. The Illinois Supreme Court has declared that a cap on malpractice suits was unconstitutional. The cap for pain and suffering was $500,000 for doctors and $1 million for hospitals. The cap was meant to lower healthcare costs and premiums, but the Supreme Court just said that was purely unconstitutional. So what do you guys think about a cap on healthcare? Do you agree with the Supreme Court that this should be unconstitutional?
Healthcare.
On the cap on malpractice.
I'm torn because there's so many of these frivolous lawsuits where they get these pain and sufferings that are crazy amounts. I don't know how it's not constitutional. I mean, this is just for the pain and suffering part.
Yes.
So you can get, your bills paid for, and then this is on top of that. So, I mean, do you really need $3.2 million in pain and suffering if you missed work for a month? I mean, even if you missed work for a year, should you get $3.2 million when you only make $40,000? I think this cap is fine. I mean, it does lower healthcare costs, and it does make doctors more confident because they're not going to have to worry about all these huge premiums that they have to pay for their medical malpractice insurance.
Yeah. The argument against it, because I looked this up, because this has come up, countless different states have tried this, and it's been thrown out several times. The main argument is a limit or cap on non-economic damages invades the right of a jury trial by usurping one of the fact-finding responsibilities of the jury. If the amount of non-economic damages awarded by the jury exceeds the statutory cap, this code section is automatically and then arbitrarily reducing the verdict without consideration of the evidence, the record, or any other fact produced at trial and found by the jury. So it's just about, the reason they found it unconstitutional is because they think it is usurping the decision that is, the decision by your peers, the jury.
Right. I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there are certain circumstances where you probably are entitled to pain and suffering of that much, but on the whole, most people I don't think are going to be needing that. I mean, it turns out, these used to be the idea of these pain and sufferings is to pay you for your pain and suffering, not to make enough money for you to have for the rest of your life. And that's what a lot of these court cases have turned into. Maybe, I would be in favor of some kind of cap that took a little more, a different route that would say, for certain things, only this amount of money, or given these circumstances, this is the cap. I don't know how you would go about doing that.
Yeah, I would say that would get really too specific. I don't like this cap at all. I think there are those circumstances that they deserve more than $500,000 for a doctor and $1 million for hospitals. And if you're limiting that, that just says no to everyone. I think there are those circumstances that should have above $1 million for hospitals.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to agree with Ryan because there are situations where this can happen, and the example that's in this Georgia case, the Georgia Supreme Court case that ruled it unconstitutional, was a woman's face was so disfigured and ruined that she could not actually she could not leave her home because there was no appearance of normalcy and could not carry on like a regular job. Right. So the pain and suffering on top of the economic, because you can only suppose so much economic, that it has to come, more money ends up coming from pain and suffering. And although I really am not, I feel that doctors should not get completely just worked over by this, but I am going to have to say that there are people who need it sometimes.
Right, but I would say that those are the exceptions. I think that the most of the people that go to trial and get these, huge pain and suffering are not in that kind of shape. I mean, I even said that I think that there are people that could use it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's go into some headlines.
Yes. All right, Social Security's annual surplus has vanished in 2009 for the first time in 25 years. Blame is on the hundreds of thousands of workers planning to retire or claim disability. In response, President Obama plans to propose a second stimulus program, which would create construction jobs through the building of handicap-accessible ramps for every American household. These would allow for governments to hire thousands of wheelchair-restricted elderly to force back to work, to go door to door as census takers.
As it turns out, the smartest sitcom on TV, Frasier, may have been placed in the wrong state. A King County judge ruled the state of Washington is not fulfilling its constitutional duty to pay for basic public education. Superior Court Judge John Ehrlich decided in agreement with a coalition of school districts, parents, teachers, and community leaders who believe leaving school districts to rely on local tax levies, donations, and PTA fundraisers does not provide an adequate amount of money to provide a proper education. The state obviously disagrees, claiming funding and recent reforms are more than adequate. Judge Ehrlich said he believes each state will find something to appeal in his will find something to appeal in his decision. But because it makes no sense that the winning side would appeal, one can only assume Judge Ehrlich was educated in Washington. In order to prove their education system is fully funded, the state's representation will opt for a change of venue to a different state with a better educated judge.
What would you do for a Shackleton bottle of scotch? Try going to Antarctica. A South Pole expedition, which left in November, was able to dig up 5 buried frozen crates of 100-year-old scotch, once belonging to the intrepid explorer Ernest Shackleton. The recipe of Shackleton's scotch has been lost for some time, but distiller White and Mackay, which sponsored the Antarctic Booze Run, hopes to replicate it. They will have an ego essay contest to give the first sip to the winner who can prove they're the most pompous person in the world.
Your favorite childhood toys will be coming to a theater near you. Universal Studios, finally discovering Disney's method of giving commercials good plots and labeling them movies, has teamed up with Hasbro to make a new superhero flick based on Stretch Armstrong. Stretch will be played by Taylor Lautner, known to some as Jacob Black, but to most as the tan kid from Twilight. Another Hasbro film in development will be an action movie based on Battleship. Reports from insiders say it's not going as well as Stretch. They somehow keep losing all their giant red and white pegs.
All right, now for the weather. Right now it is 26 degrees with a light snow. Tonight it will be 27 degrees with just a regular snow. Never underestimate the power of preteen girls. Dear John unseated Avatar as the #1 movie in box office. TikTok is the #1 song. And the most talked about, according to MSNBC at least, Super Bowl commercial was the random union of David Letterman, Jay Leno, and Oprah Winfrey.
All right. The second question we have to test if you're a real Informavore: what special powers are Republicans and Democrats actually agreeing presidents and governors should have? Let me read that one more time and not butcher it. What special power are Republicans and Democrats actually agreeing that presidents and governors should have?
That would be the line item veto for the president.
Yes.
Yep. A budget-specific line item veto. The idea behind this is that the executive can use their own discretion and power to remove parts of the bill with spending deemed unnecessary for the bill while allowing the rest of the legislation to pass.
McCain is really for this, saying that it will get rid of earmarks.
Yeah.
We talked about this on our last show.
We did.
So if you want to hear more about that, check it out on YouTube.